Welcome to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft, the founder and CEO of Judy Heft and Associates, Financial and Lifestyle Concierge. This year, she's celebrating 27 years in business. In every episode, Judy interviews professionals who help others successfully manage their financial lives. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Judy is the author of 2 books, How to Be Smart, Successful, and Organized with Your Money for a Better Today and Tomorrow, and her latest book, Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles, How to Successfully Manage Money in Every Decade of Life. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of the show at www.judithheft.com. Now, here's the host of Mastering Your Financial Life, Judy Heft.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to episode 86 of Mastering Your Financial Life. And today I'm really thrilled to be here with Aviva Pinto. Aviva is a managing director at Wealthspire Advisors in New York. They're an RIA, a registered investment advisors. And she has over 30 years, although you wouldn't know that by looking at her. She looks like she's only 30 herself.
I started when I was 4.
Exactly. Hey, that's my line. Aviva has over 30 years of experience in the financial services industry. She works with individuals in transition, whether it's a sale of a business or a divorce or widowhood, whatever the case may be. She helps them figure out what's the most important course of action for their financial future and helps them make a really astute plan. She's also a CDFA, which is a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, and a CDS, which is a Certified Divorce Specialist. And I think, working with divorced people is similar to working with widows because in a way it's a lot of the same issues. So that's great. And, she's currently on the Finance Council of Forbes.com and is quoted regularly in many of their publications. She's a frequent speaker at family office conferences and events and was voted one of the top 50 businesswomen in Long Island for many years and named one of Crain's New York Business 2020 Notable Women in Finance. So welcome, Aviva.
Thank you, Judy. It's great to be here with you.
Yes, this is great. I'm looking forward to it too. So, I think people think, I'm going to get a divorce. It's going to cost me half as much because, I'm not going to be paying for all of it. But that's a kind of fallacy. So why is it important to know everything about your finances before you file for divorce or before something happens to your significant other?
Well, that's a great question, Judy. And the reason that you want to know before filing for divorce is because things have a tendency of, quote unquote, disappearing. You want to be able to have all the statements. You want to be able to know what the budget is. You want to know everything that's going on in the financial household before you file for divorce. Because once you file, the first thing that your matrimonial attorney is going to give you is 16 pages for you to fill out. And it's a very daunting task for people who have not been the ones who have been managing the finances or paying all the bills, because it's going to ask you to list all of your assets, all of your liabilities, everything that you own, everything that you owe, and how much you spend. And without having that information ahead of time and then going through a divorce, it's going to be very difficult to obtain that information. So if you're prepared ahead of time by gathering all those documents, you're going to have a much easier time when you go to file for divorce. The other thing I tell clients is sometimes, can you afford this divorce? Because 2 divided by 1 is not the same thing. So if you've got one pot of money that's paying for an entire household, and now you're splitting that household into 2, and that same pot of money has to pay for 2 households, it's sometimes going to require a change of budget and a change of lifestyle. And I tell my clients, you need to get in front of that, both emotionally, psychologically, before you file for divorce, because sometimes it's going to create a lot of changes in your life that you may not be anticipating.
Well, that's a great answer. I think it's so interesting to me. So we get a lot of clients, and when they're deciding to go through a divorce, they have no clue, or even a widow, they don't know user passwords or IDs. They don't know how to access anything. They don't even know where accounts are held. And it's so important to have to be prepared with all of that and to know those answers, because even if you're staying together, you still should know that.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I think people usually say that divorce is kind of negative, and there's downsides, but there's plus sides to it too. I think especially to the person that really wanted that divorce and is ready to go out, but there's still, I don't know, there's just so many positives to that. And what are some of those positives?
All right. Well, the first one is you're getting that monkey off your back. If you've been in a miserable marriage, it's time to finally live your own life. But more importantly, I find it empowers you. If you are not the one who has been doing the finances and not the one who has been paying the bills, it's not because you can't do it. It's because you ceded that responsibility and that role to the other person. So one of the positives that I find with these clients is that you're teaching them a new skill. And they're doing something that they may not have done before. And that's empowering. So if you now know that you're the one who's going to be managing the purse strings and know how much is there and know how much you can budget for, it really gives you a sense of being empowered. So I think that's one of the biggest positives of going through the divorce.
That's a good point. And, I think it's really interesting. It's division of responsibilities. And when I was married, it was back and forth. We took turns doing it, and there was no money there. So there were a lot of problems other than that, but it just never worked. And then neither one of us wanted to do it, even though I was more the financial person, because when there's no money there, it's no fun to be trying to pay bills, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So it's good to keep those lines of communication so you know exactly what's going on, especially if you're thinking about a divorce in the future. And even if you end up being a widow, you need to know everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, with widows and widowers, I find that every relationship, you have your role. So you walk the dog, I'm going to do the grocery shopping, whatever it is, you're dividing that up. And as you've seen, and a lot of times when you step in to help clients, I see it all the time where one person just has no clue. And it's because they haven't done it before. I mean, I give the example, we have like 7 remote controls that control our television set. I have no idea, I just want to push one button and get my program up there. I'm always calling, the kids or my husband, can you help me get this online? It's not because I can't learn. I don't want to do it. This is it's too complicated. There are too many remote controls. And I find that that's the same thing with finances is, people who haven't done it, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to have to think about paying the bill. I don't want to have to think about budgeting. I don't want to have to think about the investments, anything like that. It just freaks me out. And, you can take them by the hand and you can show them that, hey, they can do it, or they can bring in people like you, like me, who can do it for them or help them do it together. So
yeah, that's absolutely right. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Exactly.
You just have to be open to learning a new skill, perhaps.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not
I still don't want to do the remote controls, though.
No, I don't want to do the remote controls either. I can't figure those out. It's too complicated. I agree with you on that one. So what are some of the most common mistakes people make after they go through a divorce? What can be done to avoid them?
So the financial mistakes that are made, one of them is agreeing to take the home. All right. I've been in situations where the one spouse says, the kids are here, I want to keep this home, without really thinking about the ramifications of, can I really afford this? It is, how much is there a mortgage on this house? Do I have the cash flow to pay for that? Do I have the cash flow for all the maintenance that goes along with this house? And then when I sell this house, how much is the cost basis of the house, and how much am I going to be getting taxed on this once I go through and I sell this house? So one of the things that we look at before the divorce is final is there an equitable split of these assets? You may have a $5 million house and the other person gets a $5 million portfolio, but the house may have a $2 million mortgage on it. So number one, you're ending up with $3 million, not $5 million. And then the other thing is, are you going to have any cash at all to pay for this expensive asset? So that's one of the things we look at. The other thing we look at is the investments that are split. So if you're getting investments that have very low cost basis that have to be sold in order for you to have the cash that you need to continue, well, then you're paying taxes on that, and that's not fair either. And then the other thing is that people need to look at how things are titled and who their beneficiaries are. So I was involved with a case where somebody left their husband as the beneficiary on their life insurance policy and their 401k plan and their IRA. So they've just divorced this person, they passed, and all the money went right back to the husband because they didn't change the designations. So I think it's very important to take a look at the paperwork and make sure that once you get divorced, you are naming the people that you want to get these assets should something happen to you.
Well, that's a great point. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that. They think that their will covers everything, but the beneficiary designations are separate. And we need to educate people and let them know that you need to change everything. Don't take it for granted that just because you left this to your child or someone else, that they're going to get everything, but they're not.
Exactly. And the other thing is the power of attorney. So, when somebody passes away, I've been dealing with widows and widowers, somebody passes away and their deceased spouse is their power of attorney. That's a major problem should something happen to them. And in a divorce, if you have your ex still as your power of attorney, something happens to you, especially healthcare power of attorney, well, they're the ones that are going to decide whether they're pulling the plug or not. Is that the person who you've divorced? You want them to make that decision for you. That's
probably not
a good idea.
Unless you end up being besties, which is happens. Yeah. No, that's a good thing to remember. I think people forget about that too. There's so many things that we do normally and then we don't even think about. So that's why it's so important to have somebody like you or myself to, guide them in the right direction. It is. It's great. Let's take a little break here and then we'll come back. We're with Aviva Pinto from Wealthspire. We'll come back and talk some more.
Hey there. I just want to tell you a little bit about my new book that just came out called Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles. And here it is. It's how to successfully manage your money in every decade of life. I co-authored this with my CFO, Liz Levy. And together we created this manual that's going to help you through every stage of life. We talk about having a baby. We talk about young adulthood, pre-retirement, what to do when you're at that age of retirement. If you're contemplating divorce, do you need an estate plan? We cover all of these, each subject in a different chapter. And I really think that you're going to find this so helpful because at the end of every chapter, we have checklists that you can look at and you can use, and they can be a guide for you. So this is a wonderful manual that we've created. It's available on Amazon. You can also find it on our website at judithheft.com/book. And we're here for you. If you need anything, reach out. I hope you enjoy the book. Here's another picture of it, just so you know what's going on. Here it is. And I'm really proud of it. It's my second book. And I'd love to have you read it and give me your feedback. Judy Heft, judithheft.com, financial and lifestyle concierge, celebrating 26 years in business. And over the years, I've learned so much. And what I've been trying to do is impart a little bit of this knowledge to you so I can help all of you become as financially organized as I am.
And we're back. We're back here with Aviva Pinto from Wealthspire Advisors, and I'm Judy Heft. So, divorce can be very stressful. Death also too, but they're similar, but they're different, I guess. You're still feeling a loss. It can take a toll on your mental health and your emotional health. And, I remember when I was at the end of my marriage, contemplating divorce, driving home and his car's in the driveway, or thank God his car's not in the driveway. He probably did the same thing. We just didn't want to be around each other, and it's stressful and it caused a lot of havoc. So what do you think people can do to alleviate some of this pain and anguish?
Well, I think the first thing from an, emotional or psychological is to have people around you, create a team. Your friends, your family, get a great financial person, get a great attorney, really have a team around you that can help you get through this, because you don't want to do it alone. And whether you're going through a divorce or you've just lost a spouse, having those people around you are the most important thing. Now, I tell everybody that divorce is about two things. It's about custody and it's about the money. And everything else doesn't matter. And if you're trying to get revenge on that other person, I tell everybody that nobody looks great in orange. I've only met one or two people that look good in orange. So you don't want to end up in jail with an orange jumpsuit on and lose custody of your children. So keeping your head on straight is very important. I deal with a lot of divorce coaches and therapists that I can refer my clients to. I mean, they would love for me to be their therapist, but that's really not what my training is. I can help them with the money aspects of it. And if you show them that, it's about the money and the custody, then they can kind of put their head around it and say, okay, these are the things that I really have to focus on. And the people who are going through bereavement when they've lost a spouse, I tell them they don't have to make major decisions right away. There are decisions that do need to be made. Like, for example, you need to get copies of the death certificate. You need to reach out to Social Security. You need to tell their employers, what's going on so that you can get the insurance money and things like that. But you don't have to make major decisions about, do I have to sell the house and do I have to do these things? What you need to do is just get things settled before you start making those major decisions, because your head's not in there. You're a deer in the headlights. And divorce, as you said, is similar to death. It's the loss of a relationship. And so your head may not be in there. So getting the right people and the right team around you that can guide you, I think that's one of the most important things.
Oh, I agree with you 100% that it's so important to have the right team and the right friends, and going to the right friends that are going to nurture you and help you and tell you you're not crazy. I think that's important too. When I got my divorce, I reached way back and I got reconnected with my childhood friends, and it really just meant a lot to me. That it just felt like I got myself back again by doing that. So whatever works, it's okay. Whatever works for you. Everybody's different.
Exactly.
So, I think, like you said, it's like being a deer in the headlights some ways. And, you have that whole financial affidavit that's like 16 pages long that you have to fill out. And, how do you advise someone get started, especially if they come to you and they're the non-moneyed spouse? What do they do?
So if they come to me before the divorce, we go through as many laptops, excuse me, had a little frog there. Then we go through the laptops, we go through the filing cabinets, we look at their year-end statements. So bank accounts and credit card statements, that helps pull together what is your budget. We look at how things are titled. If you can call the insurance company, you can call the investment company, you can get copies of statements, because you're not yet going through a divorce. So everything that has joint title, you're entitled to figuring that out. We look at, what do you own and what does the other person own? Is there a prenuptial agreement that spells out what's theirs, what's yours? So those are some of the things you can do. If they're coming to me and they're already starting their divorce, well, then it's a matter of filling out that, like you said, those daunting 16 pages of statement of net worth. And it's similar to that, gathering all the documents, figuring out, how much they're spending and what they're spending it on, because those categories are on that statement of net worth. How much do you spend in maintenance of your car? How much do you spend in maintenance of your apartment or your house? What is your mortgage? Do you have insurance? What other assets do you have? Do you have art? Do you have jewelry? Do you have a second home? Do you have a boat or a plane or, multiple cars? All of those things have to be put down. And for somebody who's not on top of doing all those things, it's very daunting. So I take their hand and we sit down and we go through it together. We reach out to their other trusted advisors. So if they have an accountant, the accountant can provide the tax return. If they have somebody like you, Judy, who's helping them, pull together, pay their bills, do those kinds of things, you become part of that team. and we work together to fill that out with the attorney. So we pull together a team, help them do it, help them get through it. And then at the end, if I'm called in at the very end to help them once they've gotten their settlement, then it's a matter of doing a financial plan, redoing their budget, which is going to be a budget post-divorce, which is going to be very different than their pre-divorce budget, and then look at how to invest the assets. So maybe it wasn't invested in the right way. We have to look at their longevity. If they're 50 and they're going to last till they're 95, those assets have to last for 45 years. We have to look at their risk tolerance. Are they going to freak out if the market goes down 20%? And we have to look at their liquidity needs. How much does this portfolio have to kick off in order for them to live within the budget that we've created for them? So all of those things come at the end when they finally have gotten their settlement. So I've worked with them before, during, and after. And with some clients, it's all three.
There's just so much to think about. So let me ask you a question. So do they come to you before they go to their attorney, or do they come to you after their attorney?
It really depends. I mean, I've had clients referred to me from their friends who have, gone through this process with me and are my current clients. I have people who have come to me from their therapists and divorce coaches. They're just thinking about it and they want to kind of, test the waters of what's my life going to look like if I do go through divorce. I have matrimonial attorneys where the client has already decided they're going to get a divorce. They've hired the matrimonial attorney, and then the matrimonial attorney says, hey, you have to call Aviva because I need these 16 pages filled out and you can't do it alone. So, please pick up the phone, call Aviva, and she'll get this started. And then I've had referrals at the very end where a matrimonial attorney will call me and say, I have this client, she or he has just gotten the settlement and they need to invest it. They need to do a financial plan. They need to create their budget now that they're post-divorce, and you can help them. So I've really been called in at all three stages.
Well, that's good to know. So thank you so much for this. So how can our listeners find you? This was a great discussion.
Thank you, Judy. So best way to find me, I'm at Wealthspire Advisors, and my email is aviva.pinto@wealthspire.com. You can look at me in LinkedIn, you can Google me, and you can give me a call. So my number is 516-297-2795. And my clients are across the country. Our firm manages assets for clients across the United States. And we have 19 offices across the US. So we can help you wherever you are.
Well, that's great to know. Thank you, Aviva. This was interesting. I'm really glad we had a chance to talk today.
Thanks for having me, Judy.
Thank you for tuning into Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of the show at www.judithheft.com. Thank you for your positive comments and sharing this show with others.